Please make yourself comfortable, and that might mean adjusting your cushion a little bit, or it might mean leaning against the wall if you like, or settling in the chair. And just the important thing is that we keep the back fairly straight. And it seems like when the back begins to slouch, or our posture begins to fall in, we could say, oftentimes fatigue will follow, and we'll get drowsy. And what helps the back remain straight is to keep the chin lifted a little bit. When we think of somebody meditating, sitting on the floor, we see pictures and statues of the people, including the Buddha with very straight back and the chin parallel with the ground. And for us, it often feels like we're lifting the chin a little bit. And then that helps keep the back straight. We allow the eyes to close on their own. We're not here to force anything. We're not even forcing the eyes to close. We're just allowing them to close. We're not forcing ourselves to breathe any differently, or really to sit any differently. We just want to be comfortable. The only thing that we might want to apply effort towards is softening the muscles of the body a little bit if we've been having a strenuous day. If there's much stress in the body, and there usually is, and we usually discover that when we find a calm place and settle in a little bit, such as this place here. So in meditation, we need an object to focus on. And in our practice here, we generally use the breath and the body. And it's usually our initial practice. And then after that, we notice that the mind becomes very still and quiet. And then at that point, we can start to watch the activity of the mind. We can see the thoughts. We can see any disturbances, or any happiness, or any liberation, or any levels of concentration, any of these things very clearly. And the Buddha talked about these different states quite often. And they also include desires and aversions, which is fear and hatred, anger. There's restlessness and worry, and mental and physical fatigue. And there's also states of joy and happiness, a gladdening of the mind, just a clarity, happiness. And Buddha talked about piti and sukha quite a bit. This is the happiness and blissfulness that is really our true nature, that can be found in meditation. And sometimes we can easily discover that by just understanding that we don't have to try to struggle to be anybody, or to be anything, or to do anything, or to try to change anything. We can just be. We can just settle in, relax, and just be completely non-judgmental about any situation that arises. This is something that we don't normally do throughout the day. And we often do the opposite, where we feel it's our job to be judgmental and try to change things from what they presently are. But we couldn't be more wrong in actuality. So we bring our attention to an object, and then this helps still the mind. A very simple practice. And as mentioned here, we generally use something related to the body, and the object that everybody can become familiar with quickly is the breath. We just bring our attention to the breath. Feel the breath as it comes into the body, and then as it leaves the body. We're not trying to change our breathing or trying to make things different. We're just noticing. It can't get much simpler than that. We're just seeing things for exactly for what they are. And that is the coolness of the breath as it touches the body, and then the warmth of the breath as it leaves the body. So we're not focusing on the air, but just the sensation of the breath as it touches the body. And that could be a different place for each person in here. And generally it's someplace within the sinuses or the tip of the nose. And then we'll notice that when we first do this practice, it's quite easy and we can stay concentrated. But then the mind wants to wander off a little bit. And this wandering of the mind, or this monkey mind that is often referred to, is quite common. It's very natural. And we allow this to happen throughout the day, but in meditation we want to notice that. And that noticing is not really a control, it's just an awareness that our mind has left our meditation object, which is the breath. And then we notice that it has gone adrift, and then we bring our attention back to the breath. At times we might want to begin to count the breath if the mind is very busy. We could count up to 10, maybe back down to 1. Now imagine that you're meditating alone, outdoors in an ideal climate. You're in the exact posture that you're in right now, or actually any posture you want to imagine yourself in. But it's you in this present moment, in your ideal environment outdoors. It could be on the grass in a park, or it could be next to the ocean, or next to a lake, or a forest pond, or a stream. It could be in a very cool climate or a warm climate like we have here. whatever your ideal place might be at this moment. It might not be your ideal place tomorrow or next week, but just whatever feels ideal right now. And just imagine yourself sitting in that environment. With your ideal temperature and your ideal climate. Even the sky above is your ideal type of sky. And you feel very calm and very serene. So you're doing exactly what you're doing now. You're meditating, following the breath. But you're in a different environment. After spending some time in this environment, just notice that off to the right side of you is a fence, and within that fence is a gate. That can be any kind of fence or any kind of gate that you want to imagine it to be. Could be made out of any material, stone or brick or wood or metal, anything you like. And just imagine yourself arising from your meditation posture and walking towards that gate. You just take your time and walk up to the gate, and then you open it up. You swing the gate open, and you walk in, and you close the gate behind you. And then after walking through that gate, you realize that you're inside a very beautiful environment. It's almost like a park setting. There's beautiful grass and flowers and trees. Everything is ideal, and there's playful wildlife, such as, unharming type of animals, rabbits and birds that you notice, different sounds of nature that go along with this type of setting. And you notice that your environment is ideal. There's no annoying insects. Clear blue sky, maybe a light breeze. You feel very safe and very comfortable in this environment. And you make your way down a path that you noticed, down that leads from the gate into this kind of tree-covered area, this park-like setting. Just a kind of a meandering path, and you begin to walk along. You take your time noticing the flowers and the plants of various kinds, vines, noticing the nice temperature, blue skies, the birds. And you continue walking along. You notice that there's a fork in the road. The path goes off in two different directions. And you take one of the sides of the path. You realize it doesn't matter which way you go. It's really not much of a decision to make. You just take one side or the other, left or right. And you make your way down this path, nice and easy, gently. There's no hurry, no place to be at a certain time. And you notice next to this path is a creek that is flowing, and you can hear the creek flowing. It's a nice sound, you enjoy it. You're walking along, and then you notice there's a little bridge that crosses the creek. And on the other side of that bridge is an open area, kind of a grassy area that looks very inviting. So you cross the creek on the bridge and you walk towards that grassy area. There's a little hill, and you decide to walk up the hill and sit down there and do your meditation for a while. That's exactly what you do. You make your way to the grassy area and you sit down, comfortable, nice and cool. You feel very safe. You feel very protected. And you notice out in the distance that there's a figure coming towards you. And you're not afraid in any way. You feel that it's a very loving figure. It's a person, you can't tell whether it's a male or a female or exactly what kind of clothes they're wearing or anything. It really doesn't matter. You just feel the essence of this being coming towards you. And again, you feel very safe, and this being makes its way to you and sits in front of you about 5 feet. You feel very safe and feel very much of a loving feeling just having this being sitting in front of you. And you realize that this is a powerful being that can answer any question you desire to ask, any question at all. And this being actually asks you to, encourages you to ask a question, and assures you that an answer will come. Even if it's not a verbal answer, maybe the answer would be in the silence, but there will be an answer. So at this moment, just formulate a question that you might ask if you had the opportunity to sit in front of we could call it a higher power, just whatever you might want to think of it as being. That you can just spend a few moments and try to formulate a question that you might ask this being, something that might be very important to you or something that could be presently on your mind throughout the last few days or today, or just something that you've always been wondering. Maybe one of the bigger, deeper questions that we often wonder and often ask. The main thing is that you remember what the question is and how you formulate the question. Make sure that it's an open-ended question that can't be answered in too many different ways. In other words, just be careful with the wording of the question. Try to formulate it very simply, and then find yourself asking the being, and then wait for an answer. And then once you've formulated and asked this question, whatever the answer that might have come to you, try to make a strong point of remembering what that is as well. At this point, the being pays his respects to you, and then the being gets up, and you do the same. The being gets up and walks away slowly, just the way it came towards you. You never really got a clear look at the being, who the being was, what the being was wearing, and it really doesn't matter. There's no judgment, no concerns about who or what it might be. And again, you feel safe and very serene and happy. You're still in this grassy area. You make your way, you rise and make your way towards a little footbridge that was covering the creek. You're leaving this area just the way you came. Crossing the bridge, and you make your way back onto the path that you originally came on. Things look a little bit different as you're walking back the way you came towards the open gate, which was a ways down the path. You see the same trees and the same plants, but you see them from a different angle, so they look different to you. You feel very safe and happy to be at this place. You're walking along, and you're coming along the Y in the road that you originally passed before. And you're coming back to the main part of the path that you originally started on, and you're making your way down the path towards the gate, slowly and consistent walking. And you find yourself coming upon the gate, and you know that you're going to be leaving this beautiful area, this park-like setting. And you open the gate, and you make your way through the gate, and you close the gate behind you. After closing the gate, you walk across this area that you originally walked to, and then you find yourself at that spot where you originally sat down to meditate. And again, you sit down there, just like the posture you're in right now. You sit down and you begin meditating. And again, you're paying attention to the breath. You can feel the breath as it comes into the body and then as it leaves the body. Perhaps you can notice how still the mind is now compared to when you first sat down to meditate. Perhaps you can notice how calm the body is, how much calmer the breathing is. We'll just sit here in silence for approximately 4 minutes. Just follow the breath. See what this does for you. If your mind wanders, feel free to count the breaths. Let's take a little deeper than normal inhalation of the breath. Help ourselves wake up a little bit. And gently sigh out. We'll do this 2 more times. Another deep inhalation. And exhale. And again, a deep inhalation of the breath. And exhale.